Hello everybody and welcome to another Gear Talk episode, and this time I'm going to talk to you about the Pentax KM. Before we begin, as usual, a little message as a sponsor. If you want to support the channel, two books. Photography, the F manual is a manual with all the basics of photography, or Lasting Photograph. This is a novel that is kind of an adventure and love story that starts with the finding of very old negatives and images in Florida and goes around in time and space and world to find who was portrayed in the picture. So if you want to support the channel, one or the other, and I will be an happy man. This said, let's talk about the Pentax KM. The Pentax KM was introduced in '75 to substitute the Spotmatic series. The Spotmatic was with the M42 screw mount. The Pentax K series was, as the name say, with a K bayonet on the lens. So this is a K bayonet camera with a very easy way to change the lens. This basically, the KM is the Spotmatic F with just little aesthetic difference and the bayonet difference. The other things are exactly the same. And when we talk about the K series by Pentax, everybody's talking right now about the K1000 is the wonderful camera, but this is much better, and I explain you why. The characteristic is the same, the shutter is the same, the exposure meter with the very easy index to align between plus and minus is the same. So the shutter goes from 1 second to 1,000 of a second, plus the pose B, and so on. But this has something that the K1000 doesn't have, and this is this button to check the depth of field, and that's something that is absolutely important in my opinion. And another thing that is important is the self timer, not to do selfies but to be able to take pictures without vibration if you forgot a release cable. So that's the thing. Another thing that this camera has and the K1000 doesn't have is a little reminder of the film you have in the camera that says daylight, black and white, tungsten, and these kind of things, and the number of poses, so 20 or 36. So that's a nice thing. The ISO are, as usual, changed, pulling up the gear for the shutter speeds, and that's all. Basically there's nothing more in this camera. Synchro flash that can be X or FP, so for electronic or bulb flash. Nothing more to say. This camera, if you can find it very cheap on the used market. The only things you have to take care of usually is to change the light seals, and that's something very easy that you can do yourself. And sometime the shutters is not really precise, the slow time especially get kind of stuck, but it's very easy to open the bottom and clean everything and put just a little bit of oil. And when I say a little bit, I mean a little bit, because one of the worst thing that is done to cameras by people is lubricate them with too much oil, and that ruins the cameras. The battery is a standard battery, LR44 I think, so very easy to find, and this is an advantage over the Pentax Spotmatic F, that the Spotmatic has always problem with the batteries because the original mercury batteries are no more available. This said, if you want to start with film photography, this can be a great camera, much better than the Pentax K1000, and you can buy it probably for half the price, and you have some more features like this. Something I do not like about this camera, there's not a lock on the button, the shutter button, and another thing is that the exposure meter is turned on by a sensor that if there's light coming in the camera, the exposure meter is turned on. So if you forget to put the lens cap on your camera or close it in a bag, the exposure meter will be active and will really drain the battery out. So never leave this camera without the lens cap somewhere. This said, very sturdy, very simple camera, very precise. It was substituted later by the Pentax MX, and I much more prefer the Pentax MX for many reasons. By the way, Pentax MX, here is the video, you can check it here, a review of the Pentax MX. But what I was saying, the Pentax MX has different things. First of all, is a more compact body, and I like that, but most importantly, it has a little window that shows you the aperture inside the viewfinder. Here, if you look in the viewfinder, there's the exposure meter and the microprism for the focus, and nothing more. But the Pentax MX has the window to see the aperture and has the possibility to change the focusing screen. Here the focusing screen is standard, just with microprism, and not even the divided image in the middle. So something that is good camera for beginner if you want to have fun, because you can find it very cheap. If you want to become more serious with photography, I really suggest to start with something as the as the MX. So that's the point. But this is really a great camera to have and to begin with. I think this is all about the Pentax KM. Nice camera, beautiful in black, by the way, and it's just a lot of camera for the money you pay now. If you're thinking to buy the K1000, don't do that. Buy a KM, is much better. So I hope you appreciated these kind of videos, and if you do, please put a like and subscribe to my channel. And thank you very much for watching, and see you next time with another camera and other gear to talk about. Thank you very much.